Do you need a landscaping job tackled? Keen Landscaping is a family-owned and operated full-service landscaping company based in Dallas, Texas. Anything from property restoration and tree pruning or removal to landscape design, construction, and installation, Keen covers it all. They're also the official landscape company of the Dallas Stars. Learn more at keenlandscaping.com. Again, that's Keane landscaping.com. Welcome to Parker's MMA Show. If you want to learn about all things going down in the fight world, you've come to the right place. Each episode, your host Parker Keane will take a deeper dive into the always entertaining world of sanctioned fist fighting. Now here's your host, Parker Keane.
All right, we are back. Parker's MMA Show, episode 66. We are with a very special guest today, Brant Moore Jr., Brant Killer B. Moore Jr. Listen to this, Parker. He's a jiu-jitsu black belt, a judo brown belt, a multi-division amateur Muay Thai champion, an undefeated pro boxer, a 9-1 MMA lightweight on the doorstep of LFA's lightweight title. And in his own words, he turned strikers into grapplers and grapplers into dust. He hasn't been punched in the face in the last 30 minutes in the LFA cage, despite winning 2 victories. Here he is, Brant Moore Jr. Brant, thank you so much for joining the podcast.
What's up, y'all? That was a great intro. It makes me sound like I'm somebody.
All right,
you are somebody.
Yeah, hell yeah. So, Brant, let's get right into it. You grew up in Marshall, Texas, a few hours east of Dallas. Tell us a little bit about your growing up, where you come from, and what kind of sports and stuff you played growing up, that kind of stuff.
Yeah, so I grew up in Marshall, Texas. It's about almost as deep east as you can get as far as Texas goes. With I'm 30 minutes from Shreveport, you know. I played baseball when I was a little kid, and I kind of hate. There's a piece of me that hates that I didn't want to pursue baseball. I didn't like it like that, but I was actually good at baseball, and that was probably a goof on my part. I could be playing in the major leagues or something instead of getting punched in the face for money. You know. But from when I was younger, from about 3 to 12, I did karate in a studio in Marshall. I think it's still in Marshall. It's ran by, I think the Marshall studio is actually ran by somebody that I grew up training with. I want to say Austin McKinney is running the Marshall studio now. Who's me and him got our black belts in karate together, you know, so that's pretty cool. That he's still doing it, still at it, still weaponizing kids and different things like that. Growing up, pretty regular childhood, you know, every once in a while, being a little bit of an egghead, got whooped a lot. I wasn't a really bad kid. I just talked a lot. Got into a lot of trouble at school. Not acting out trouble, just on some ADD stuff, just constantly talking and stuff, you know. Got bullied in school because I'm a nerd, like anime and different stuff like that, and and then I started fighting. Started at 15. I started wanting to. Oh, I also play football, but that's not important. Oh wait, I suck at football, man. Garbage can at football, dude. Should have stuck to baseball. But that's how my childhood and everything was growing up. Liked anime, you know. As an adult, I realized, you know, growing up in the household I grew up, it wasn't the best, but it was, I had both parents, and for the most part, they were nice to me most of the time, you know. Had a brother, multiple brothers, you know. Parents were probably losing their mind a piece at a time, and just every once in a while they just you fucking kid, you know. So, that's the childhood till till 12, 15, started boxing. Been boxing ever since. 17, started doing jiu-jitsu. Doing jiu-jitsu ever since. You know. Oh man, I'm almost hitting a decade on jiu-jitsu. That's crazy. That's crazy.
So
yeah.
So Brant, you talked about your first entrance into martial arts really being karate at age 3, right? Can you talk about how that influenced you, how that kind of shaped the fighter you are today, or maybe it's something that you decided like, hey, this isn't like real fighting and I'm going to get away from it? Or is it something where you kind of took either a discipline or technique or whatever that might be away from it from that young age doing karate?
So me doing karate made me a martial artist. Like I think where karate, at least American karate, and or at least the way the branch of it that I came up in is like, the way we train is, we do the technique and then we spar, or we do the technique, do the technique and stuff like that. But mainly there's a lot of sparring going on, like, at least once a week. There's not a lot of that going on in karate, and that's where I feel like karate has fallen short. It's not that it's stuff that doesn't work. It's very awesome stuff. It's stuff that it's concepts and different things like that I use in my fighting to this day. It's just you don't get battle tested doing just that like you would in boxing. Like in boxing, you'd be over here, hit the bag, go run, hit the bag, some gloves on because we're throwing down, and then once everybody's head starts hurting, we're gonna do it again tomorrow. Yeah, that's like, that boxing's way different. I remember with me doing karate, also it doesn't have you punch a lot, so when I first started doing boxing, I was getting my ass beat all the time. I was also the 15-year-old in the adult class, that didn't want to get, nobody wanted to get beat up by a 15-year-old. So I got, for a good solid 4 or 5 months, I was getting my ass whooped on by the newer adult. And I had to get good quick. I had to get good really quick. Yeah, main thing I take away from karate though is the concepts, distance management, the footwork, and the kicks. The kicks in karate are a lot different than the kicks in like, say, Muay Thai, which is more readily seen in today's modern MMA scene. You got a couple of your specialists like Lyoto Machida and I think Henzo is his brother. You got certain guys like that, that use specifically karate. Karate is actually very similar in the fighting and the idea of fighting to Taekwondo. The kicks used in Taekwondo are absolutely different though. Yeah, I hope that answered your question. I ramble a lot. I'm sorry.
No, all good, man. It's great. It's great. I'm actually glad you brought something up here. Is your boxing career, right? You start boxing at 15. I've heard you have a brief but illustrious professional boxing career, Brant. So I'd love if you could just tell me about that.
Oh man, so this is what happened with that. So I had just fought in LFA. I want to say it was LFA. It might have been. I might have fought in. It might have been Atlas I fought for, but I just fought like less than a month ago, and I'm still in shape, still kicking it. Again, no damage in the fight, so quick fight. So I'm just like still kicking it, still going to the gym, and then one day while I'm at work, my coach is just like, "Hey, what are you?" He's like, "Hey, what are you weighing?" And I'm just like, I'm like, 68 or so. And he's just like, "Hey, do you want to fight tomorrow?" I'm like, what? I'm like, why not? Fuck it. He's like, it's a boxing fight. And I'm like, fuck it, why not? I'm not some dude that ain't, I boxed for a very long time. I competed in state golden gloves as an amateur. I've done a little bit, in boxing. So, he's just like, okay, and it's like, can you be 165? And I was just like, yeah, I can put the sauna suit on. And I asked Larry, who was my boss at the time. Larry's my Muay Thai coach, but he was both Muay Thai coach and boss of the job I was at, my roofing job that I was at. And I was just like, hey, can I go to Shreveport right quick? Can I make a run to Shreveport? We have an office in Shreveport. Can I make a Shreveport run? And he's just like, yeah, go ahead. Wink. He's like, go ahead. And I'm drive over and, weigh in. weigh in at 165, which is like, what, I had to weigh in at, sweat a little bit. And just like that, I'm fighting that next day. And I'm fighting against this dude, Desmond Wise. Desmond's was I think 1-0-1. So he draw his first fight, won his next fight. And there was really a lot of hype behind him, right? But I don't care. I go in, and I had to get my boxing legs back under me, What winds up happening is I forgot how grimy boxing is. Like in that first round, I'm doing good, pumping my jab, using my good boxing, and I get absolutely ragdolled by a left hand. I held it together, but whenever you see people get hit and they put their hands up from belly button up, they're like ready to go, but their legs are like doing this number, like crossing over. I did that. I kind of did a little bit of that, right? And got my shit together and tried to circle out in the round end. I went back to the corner for the first time, at least in my professional career, in my amateur career too. First time, absolutely dazed and confused. I was just like, oh my God, I know my legs weren't under me. So I sat down, legs are feeling like Jello. Steve and Derek are talking to me, or Steve's talking to me. He's telling me stuff, and I'm sitting here and I'm just trying not to look like I'm trying not to look like I'm not ready to get back up just yet, fully. And the minute goes by, my legs come back together. I'm good. Get back in the rhythm. Second round, good. Third round, drop this dude. Very amazingly, in my opinion. Drop this dude. Third round ends. Fourth round comes in. Step on the gas really hard, and just overwhelm them. And the referee gets in between us. Whenever people start getting punched a lot, the referee steps in between for a standing 8 count, and the ref calls the fight off, and I'm just like, yes, won my pro boxing. I'm finna go throw up. Yeah. All
right,
crazy,
so Brant, let's transition to MMA. What was your first exposure to MMA? Growing up, were you around it? Did you watch it? And if so, who were some people you looked up to in MMA?
So in MMA, I did not have any exposure in my my very youngest years. I didn't really start watching and getting exposed to it till I was about 14, 15. My dad started. My dad was just like, "Hey man, you should watch this stuff," And I was just like, ah. And the funny thing is, whenever they would start grappling, I didn't understand it. And I was just like, "This is weird. I don't get this. This is all the fights start just grappling. They're just hugging each other." I was that guy. And my dad's just like, "You should watch. Just give it a chance." And he's just like, "Oh, I'll watch." He's like, "Watch this one dude." And he's like, Anderson Silva pops up. Anderson Silva comes in and absolutely, it was his debut. He absolutely ragdolls Chris Lieben, And I was just like, "Oh man, that's crazy. I want to do that," And then I just left that, and then I was just, I realized in that moment that I wanted to do mixed martial arts, but I didn't. There was no avenue for it, at least in martial. I don't think D-Rocks was around just yet. So, I watched it here on and off. And 15, I started boxing, started being at D-Rocks, and it was really good. And at some point later on, years down the line, I'd always heard about Derek, who's my jiu-jitsu teacher, but I never met him because the grappling days and the boxing days are different. And one day I was just like, I asked his dad, Doug, who's the owner of the gym, I was just like, "Hey, can I try the jiu-jitsu class, And he's like, "Yeah." And I go in immediately. I'm just like, this is weird, because of guard and stuff like that. I've been watching and playing a lot of UFC 2010 Undisputed, so I was already at least a purple belt in jiu-jitsu by that point. I knew what stuff looked like and what stuff was. Just didn't know how to get there. Um, funny story. This is one of me and this is like the meeting of or the bonding of the beginning of Derek and Brant, right? He's ragdolling me on the ground like you know like he does everybody, but I'm brand new, so he's really tearing me up. He's like holding me down like a little child, and I don't know what I'm doing. And Megan, his wife, comes up and she's like, "Hi, Derek," and he's like, "Hi, Megan." He like waves to her from side control, right? And I see his arm pop up. It gets off me. I grab it and put it in like an Americana, which is not even remotely close to smart in that position, right? And I grab it and I fold it back as hard as I can because I went full white belt fury, right? And he's like, he like tap, and I was just like, I popped up and I was like, woo, yes. And you know, because in football, you do something cool, you celebrate. In jiu-jitsu, you don't do that. I didn't know the etiquette first class. It's my first class, and Derek's like Derek's like he's mad, but he's like holding it together, right? So after that, he ragdolls me horrifyingly. Like he is like he's giving me the straight business, you know. And after that, for the next like 3 months, it may not have been that long, but it felt like that long. Every class, you know what I'm saying? Like I'd come in, he'd show submissions on me. When it's roll time, he would just absolutely smash and destroy me just over and over again, you know. And I just thought that's what jiu-jitsu was. That's how you learn in jiu-jitsu. You just get your ass beat over and over again, which it is kind of like that, just not to the degree Derek was doing it to me, right? And after a while after that, he like lightened up and he started to like me because like, you know, there's a lot of people that come in and try jiu-jitsu and then leave, come in, try it stay in for like, you know, a couple of weeks, maybe a month, and then stop. You know, there's a lot of that. It's a high turnover rate type of deal. And you know, I just kept sticking around just because, you know, I wanted to be good at jiu-jitsu. I wanted to be good at grappling, and I also, you know, thought that's what it was. And he started to like me, and then it's been history ever since. I'm his first black belt, you know. I'm his first black belt, and we've been boys ever since. But that's that's the start of our relationship right there.
You know, Brant, I was once the loud and spazzy white belt in my gym as well, so I very much resonate with this story of the color belts take notice and they start to really beat your ass if you don't shut up.
And it's me as a black belt now, you know, it's like and as a middle-aged, you know, 20-year-old, like as a slightly more matured adult, right? I realized like how you go about that stuff and how you go about like teaching people, right? Like, you know, I used to get mad when I was like purple brown at like guys that would like spaz out and stuff like that on me, and now I'm just like, I did it too. I don't know no better, you know. I didn't know no better. He don't know no better, you know. Just tell him, just give him that little talk, like, hey man, like, you know, I get what you're going for. I understand. Just promise if you just think about doing this XYZ thing. You don't know what to do, don't freak out. Curl up, make your body into like a C and shrimp. If you don't know what to do, shrimp, curl your body up and do like the dead bug, you know. That's all you got to do. Like that's what I tell them now. They still spaz on me, but it's okay.
So obviously, Brant, you go from being that spazzy white belt in the gym to obviously a well-rounded martial artist, a guy who ends up taking amateur fights, and then extensive amateur career. You decide to go pro. What changed for you there, or what was kind of the catalyst that made you think like, okay, it's time for me to make this a career?
Well, the past, I always knew I wanted to be a professional fighter, you know. I would say at purple belt, is whenever I decided to really take MMA seriously, because there was a long stretch of like me not knowing whether I was good or not at it. Because you know, you know what people tell you, but whether you want to believe it is up to you. You know, everybody tells you you're that dude, but whether you want to believe it, that's up to you, and your performance sometimes shows it, right? But So like my first amateur MMA fight, I got knocked out shooting for a takedown, and which is also why I don't shoot for takedowns in my current times, right? You know, you'll never see me shoot for a double in a fight. I always body lock and fold or trips or different things like that. Primarily because of that experience, it changed me, you know, for my whole career. Um, and you know, so then I started out my amateur career 0-1, and you know, then I won 2 fights, but you know, I'm just like, eh. And then I lost 2 fights against guys that were like that were pretty solid, you know, and um, after that, I was just like, man, like after I had that hit that 2 fight loss streak, and I think my record was like, I think it hit an upside down point at that point, you know. Lost one, won two, lost two. Yeah, I would be 2-3 at that point. I completely stopped doing MMA altogether. I just was training, taught my friends, you know, striking and stuff like that, and I completely got wrapped up in jiu-jitsu and grappling, and that's really where my jump. And that was like at like white belt. You know, that was before I was even doing gi jiu-jitsu, so I was like still a white belt for as far as like ranking would go, right? Um, I kept at it. Started doing gi jiu-jitsu. I kept competing, really getting good at grappling, right? Got my purple belt, and then at some point I just decided, man, I think I'm gonna give this another try. You know, like I got a lot of skill, you know, a lot of talent. It'd be a shame not to waste it. Also, one of my homeboys, Benjamin Martin, we call him Boo. I've had random like eye issues in this eye throughout my career, and in that same eye, Boo is actually blind now. He had a detached retina, and he had to stop fighting, you know. And I remember one of my friends was telling me, one of our mutual friends was telling me, he's just like, man, if you can't do it for you, like there's plenty of people that wish they had half the talent you had, or at least the ability to compete like you do. And you know, if you can't do it for you, you know, do it for them. And he's like specifically mentioned Boo. He was like, because he worked with him at the time. He was just like, Boo really wished he could do it, and he can't. You know, and you know, you have the opportunity. You shouldn't waste the opportunity. You know. And that was my drive that was my drive for it at that moment. And you know, now it's my life. You know. Purple belt is when I decided to change and really take MMA seriously. And I've been doing good ever since. I've, you know, lost a couple of fights here or there. Like since I started taking the game seriously, I've lost 2. One is my last amateur loss, and then my first professional loss. And you know, I've learned a lot from those. But started rambling again.
No, all good, all good. Brant, you talk in every interview, right, about even in this one that anime has been such a huge influence on you. When did that start? And like, at what point did it go from like, okay, this is a show I like to watch on television to like, this is actually something that inspires me? Was it a character? Was it a show? Was it just a moment in life? Kind of walk me through how that happened.
So my first anime that I ever watched was Baki the Grappler. I don't know if you're familiar with it, but it's like the best way I can describe the show. You are?
Yes, very familiar. Parker's definitely not. But
definitely not. I'm gonna be lost for the next 5 minutes.
So if you watch Baki the Grappler, it's like the best way I can describe the show is imagine like all the shit martial arts claim that they can do. You know, like think of like karate or taekwondo or any martial art that you can think of in your brain. And you know how like there's like tales of breaking like all these bricks and all that stuff. Well, in that anime, they're actually doing that stuff. They're like these big swole dudes fighting each other, beating the brakes off of each other. Like, you know, in certain like the beginning of the series where they're showing different expos of the different martial arts, they're doing shit like dropping this one dude and like putting him in a bell like that's made out of concrete, and the dude just boom 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 just busts out of it, like shit like that, you know. And like, you know, there's a lot of crazy stuff going on. Like, you know, very like any mystic bullshit thing you can think of any martial art. They're doing that for real in Baki. And then they put some bro science behind it. You know, they put some crazy bro science behind it. Like somebody shoots their finger in like somebody's neck, pulls some tendon or something like that. Dude's blind. It's like, oh, the cord pull. It's like he separated some nerve and now he can't fucking see. You know, they do shit like that like all the time in the show. It's hilarious. It's awesome. But that's that right there. I was just like, man, I know it's not real. As a kid, I knew it wasn't real, but like, you know, I didn't know to the extent of how real it wasn't. You know what I'm saying? Like I was just like sticking my finger in a dude's body part, pulling out a nerve. Maybe unrealistic. I didn't know I was a kid, you know, but I was just like busting out of a concrete bell. I'm pretty sure I can do that, you know. So I was just like, okay, no, I'm, you know, then you know, doing karate and different things like that, you know, breaking boards and stuff. You're like really mentally like getting into that, like learning like, you know, from that cartoon and like the martial arts mindset. You know, that's a big thing in anime that anybody that fights that's like, I don't know about anime, I'd be like, just watch the show as long as it's not a goofy ass slice of life anime type show, you know. If it's like something where there's a lot of fighting, you know, like Baki or Dragon Ball Z or even Naruto, you know, or different things like that, it'll you can model your martial arts mentality after that, like, you know, not giving up. You know, none of the anime, don't model it after the anime tropes like the power of friendship and shit like that. Don't do that. But like struggling and being in real bad situations, like, you know, if you watch a lot of anime, you know that like it's like they start off slow, they ramp up, they peak out, they both kind of blow their wad, and one of them's like, I want it more. You know, that's how anime fights are 9 times out of 10. And that's how real life fights are, like, you know, 9 times out of 10. You know, it's like both guys are warming up. You can watch UFC fights, just guys warming up, you know, ramping up, going all out when they feel like they got to finish, you know, possibly like, you know, if they're both really close in skill, you know, then they both blow their wad in the second round. The third round, we're seeing who wants it more. You know, so like the biggest thing I pulled from anime is the mentality of, you know, never giving up. Perseverance is big, and different things like that. You know, and also good friends in the game also help tremendously.
So we were gonna talk a little bit about your judo. Billy and I watch a lot of MMA, and it's rare that there's a serious judo practitioners out there, but you recently received your brown belt. So talk a little bit about what judo brings to your game and what kind of advantages you think it has, you know, when you get in there.
It's changed my game up completely. It is, believe it or not, it has affected all aspects of my game, whether it be from my boxing to my Muay Thai, to my jiu-jitsu, to my wrestling. It's affected it all. So in the boxing aspect, where it's affected it is the footwork. In judo, there's a lot of stepping in potentially with one foot or both feet in front, and then whenever you twist, you're gonna be on one foot. You know, in boxing, and you have to perform your throw while being on one foot. You know, and getting right hip placement. So so if you take that away and if you take away the need to spin, or not to spin, you take away the need to spin on one leg and you do it on both legs, boom, there's your angular boxing footwork right there. You know, now the same footwork you're doing for boxing, you're also doing that, or the same footwork you're doing for judo is the same footwork you're doing for boxing. The only difference is you don't have to worry about getting under and lifting somebody. You can still make your turns and still get your footwork right and still be planted, but now you can sling a mean hand. Where it's affected my Muay Thai is my clinch game in particular. There's a few dumps in Muay Thai that are very much the same in Judo. Like I forgot what this one's called. Is just taught to me. The one where you put your hand across their front leg, across their back, and scissor their body, like that right there. Traditionally performed after a kick is catched in Muay Thai. So that one's like very much the same. Foot sweeps have added a wrinkle into my striking game, in kickboxing, or when I'm allowed to kickbox or anything like that. Like somebody steps in, they try to make a jab or anything, I kick their foot out from under them, and they either have to catch their balance or try to punch me. They can do one or the other, but most people choose both, and that'll lead to a flying knee. That'll lead to the capability of a flying knee, a head kick, just off balancing them in general. Where it's changed my wrestling is I'm already a more of Greco style practitioner, and Judo is kind of like Greco wrestling in a gi. It's like Greco wrestling in a gi, so it just added to my throws. Like I understand certain throws that you see performed a lot, but technically incorrect. It's just able to work, like Uchimata in particular. Uchimata is like a throw that you'll see a lot of, but after learning how the technique works, it's just one dude taking advantage of another dude how bad the dude is off balance. Traditionally it's done when one dude's running the other dude's got an overhook, he shoots his leg out and turns, and maybe he gets it, maybe he doesn't. In Judo, that's not how it's done. That's not how it's supposed to be done technically, but it whatever works. Where it has changed my jiu-jitsu is after getting certain throws, now I know how to do my throws more correctly, to where I don't have to like land on people every time, and different things like that. I also, when people try to take my back or different things like that, I Koshiguruma them, like over the arm, trip the leg, or hip throw, depending on how you want to do it. But Judo has affected my game in many different ways. I don't know if in any of my fights you'll actually see any like big throw type stuff, but definitely going to see a lot of trips and different things like that.
For sure.
Judo,
Since you started Judo, right? You've tried basically, almost every combat sport, every martial arts discipline under the sun, right? Do you have a favorite individual discipline, or has that changed over time at all? Where at one point you like boxing, now you like jiu-jitsu or judo or whatever that is. How has that evolved for you?
It's just like you said. Like every time I find a new one, I fall in love with it. And I think I can attribute that to me getting good at it is is me falling in love with it. I think they go hand in hand. I started doing judo like a year and close to a year and a half ago. Under Aaron Straggles, and every chance I got, one or multiple times a week, I started learning from him. He's a very good judo practitioner. I actually just met his dad. I just met his dad last week or this week. I was super excited about that. I plan on competing in my first judo tournament on April 3rd, and going and competing in the brown belt division, and potentially against black belts, because that can happen too in judo. So, I'll get to see how that goes. Get to really put my skills to the test. When I started out, boxing was my thing. Or when I started out with karate was my thing. Started doing boxing was my thing. Started doing jiu-jitsu was really my thing. Man, I did not know I can love a martial art as much as I love jiu-jitsu. And then there came judo. I love judo even more than I love jiu-jitsu, which sounds crazy. It's just a different martial art, man. Like I wanted to be a judo black belt before I wanted to be any other type of black belt, anything. Like, I always thought judo was the coolest martial art, and that might just be me, but I saw like just the idea of it. Two dudes in these gis as thick as fucking armor, like, grabbing each other and trying to smash each other into the ground at warp speed. And And it's derivative of shit Samurai used to do, man.
Along those lines, Brant, I mean, you've been successful at all of these disciplines, right? You've won belts, you've won championships, you've moved up the ranks at literally every combat sport that you've tried. Of all of your achievements in combat sports, which was the hardest for you to achieve?
The hardest, man, I would definitely say MMA is the hardest for me to achieve, just mainly because the mental. There's this with MMA. There's this big mental tick that I've had for the longest time. I don't have it anymore. I've grown out of it, if you will. But like in boxing, I'm not the only one that has it. A couple of other friends of mine, like a couple other people have it that I've met. You know, like this one dude. He's like a brother to me, Zeke Wilson. Zeke, he's lost more amateur MMA fights than he's won, right? But if you put him in anything, you can put him in a boxing match, you can put him in a Muay Thai match, you can put him in a jiu-jitsu match. He wrecks shop. It's crazy. He'll wreck shop in any, like MMA is the only sport we've put him in to where he loses, you know. Everything else wins. He goes into jiu-jitsu tournaments, smokes people. He goes into Muay Thai tournaments, smokes people. Boxing matches, smokes people. It's wild, but MMA fight happens, he loses, and we don't know. It's crazy, but I get it because I was like that too. You know, winning the boxing matches, killing people. Like, you know, going to Muay Thai fights, smoking folks. You know, jiu-jitsu, I got it. Judo, I'm gonna probably have it in that too. You know, God willing. But MMA, I'm still doing good in MMA. I'm 9-1. You know, but I'm not undefeated. You know, you know.
Speaking along those lines, Brant, some of the most dominant fighters we've seen in your division recently are, you know, the Dagestani crew, right? Khabib, Islam Makhachev. When people ask me, how does Brant Moore Jr. fight? I tell them, look, he's kind of like an East Texas Dagestani, right? It's all top control. It's all clinch trips, clinch takedowns. Like you said, like it's very much about that position. I'm going to control my opponent. I'm not going to get hit. I'm going to dominate this guy for 15 minutes. Are you taking inspiration from the Khabibs, from the Islam Makhachevs, from that kind of Dagestani style? Or is this something that is Marshall, Texas through and through? You developed it on your own, and it's just me as a fan who's looking at it and saying this is kind of similar?
I definitely take a little bit of inspiration from Khabib and Makhachev. More Khabib because I know there's a potential that I might run into Makhachev at some point in the next, 3 to 5 years. So, you know, I'm watching him more than I'm getting inspired by him, you know. But it's more East Texas, man. Derek, my style is most closely to D-Rock, to Derek. You know, the only difference is Derek's the strong dude, right? That a lot of people can't match strength for strength. And I'm a strong dude that has the same thing when it comes to actual like attributes, right? You know, I'm more often than not I'm stronger than the guy that I fight. But my teacher is that guy at a bigger weight class. So, you know, my grappling game was developed around, like, you know, instead of being a gorilla, it's how to kill a gorilla, right? And then whenever fights roll out, you know, I grab a hold of a guy and it's just like, oh my God, this dude is nowhere near as strong as, you know, what I'm used to. Because as far as like guys I grapple with, guys I train with, all the guys I train with the exception of Kevin, are 70ers. You know, so I'm always training with these bigger dudes and getting tossed, getting picked up and Derek one time you should have seen it. Derek, I tried to pendulum Uchimata Derek and I didn't have the gi. We were doing it in Nogi. I didn't have the gi. I lift him off the ground and I missed. Like I had his arm to flip him. I missed the pull to actually get him turned after I got him airborne. This dude puts his hips in, plants, grabs me like you know, like you would grab a towel, like just under the armpit, you know what I'm saying, with both arms, turns and just raw and like launches me a good 6 feet, man. It was crazy. I was like, like, you know, I had hang time. I didn't know Like I didn't know he could throw me like that. He's thrown me a lot, but I didn't know he could sling me like that. Very scary, very scary. But yeah, man, my style is definitely more East Texas and D-Rock influence than it is Makhachev and Khabib influence. But I definitely look and watch to Khabib and mainly Khabib, but Makhachev too. Like, cause he fought last night and he won. He smoked Dauber. I look to them to see what's working at the highest level. You know, because MMA is a sport that grows constantly. If you're not growing, you're going to get left behind. And as fast as the sport grows, you get left behind quick. You become old news like that, you know? So I look for different things like, you know, the thing Khabib does where he reaches around, where he gets his takedown, reaches around, lets them at least post up on their elbow, reaches around their back, grabs their arm, and then pins them and has them like in that messed up position, you know, getting his takedowns and locking up the legs with his legs, different things like that. I definitely use that. And watch him and see what's going on, you know. See what's hot in the meta.
That's what it's about. So, Brant, you touched on it a little bit, the mental aspect of fighting, and we totally agree. We've seen people that have all the skills, everything, and they get in there and whatever happens, you know, their mind just shuts off and they can't put it all together. So, what are some things that you do personally to prepare yourself mentally to go in that cage?
I would say a big help is definitely my girlfriend, Annette Nichols. She actually made her pro debut the week before my fight, and she won her professional debut, which is awesome.
Nice.
I think Annette has helped me greatly in my mental game, mainly because you know, she's older, so she's able to explain to me stuff like, you know, from a more mature point of view. Like she tells me stuff like, you know, like, one, I know how to fight, you know, and two, you know, I know how to fight, I train hard, I do the best I can in the gym, perform the best I can in the cage. And the biggest thing that she always lets me know is like, you know, like, you just got to go out there and do what you do. Like, regardless of whether you win or lose, you know, you still got your family loves you, I still love you, there's still a family to come home to, there's still, like, you know, people that love you, like, regardless of whether you win or lose, regardless of whether you're Brant, the 9-1, 10-1, whatever MMA fight, UFC champion, UFC fighter, regardless of you being whatever that guy is in the fight world, we still love Brant Moore, the person, you know. That's big. And another thing that helps me mentally is another dude who's like my big brother, Daniel Fobbs. Me and him talk about fight strategy and fight statistics and different things like that all the time. Like a couple of days ago, me and him I messaged him at like 11 o'clock at night, and he's like, "What's up?" And me and him were talking about fight strategy from 11 o'clock to 3 in the morning about like what he's seen, because I'm not always watching fights, but he's always watching fights, and he's always telling me like, "Yeah, this is what's happening. This is what's hot." Like, you know, like calf kicks is like calf kicks are so popular now that it's like they're like overrated. You know, they're like hitting that overrated. You know, but Fobbs was talking about calf kicks and different things like that before people were even doing it. Like, he was talking about and using calf kicks in his martial arts game like 3-4 years ago, you know. He was talking about this a long time ago. So, you know, I listen to him because he's just like, he's like that guy that, like, if you listen to him, he'll tell you the secrets to what's really going on, you know. We butt heads sometimes on certain things, but you know, he's a guy that if I listen to him and if we, like, you know, listen to what he's telling me, he'll give me some really hardcore, good, solid advice. Because nine times out of 10, he's right about, you know, either about the way the game's going or, you know, what's really hot right now and what's sleeper hot and what's overrated. He's like stocks, you know.
Yeah.
Like finger on the pulse.
He's like my stockbroker for fighting, you know.
Yeah, that's sweet. So let's talk a little bit about this upcoming year. What are your goals for 2021?
goal for 2021 is definitely I want to try to get into the UFC for sure. You know, get take as many fights as I can. Hopefully get a full fight camp for my next fight though. You know, Jesus Christ, man, I'll never get a full fight camp. It's you know, I perform better overall on short notice fights, but like, you know, my last fight was a short notice fight, and I missed weight by the exact amount that I was over at the typical point that I would be in my weight cut. Because, you know, it's a very specific scientific process, and if you fuck off the formula, all of a sudden, you know, you're missing weight or you're performing shitty in the fight, and you're like you're losing or whatever, you know. So that it's you know, I learned from that. I definitely learned from that. Like, you know, if we're going to take a really short notice fight, it'd be like, hey, let's fucking meet at a catch weight. let's not be egotistical about this one and be like, oh, no, I can make the weight. Yeah, no more of that, you know. So.
Okay, I got one more question for you. And then we do a little rapid fire deal here, and we'll get you out of here. I know we're taking up almost an hour of your time here. All right, Brant, in your mind, what is one of the biggest problems in modern day MMA, and what would be your solution to fix it?
So in modern day MMA, it just depends on what level you're looking at. So if you're looking at the amateur level, I think the biggest problem that I see out of the amateur level is guys get somewhat lost in the sauce, if you will, with what they're doing. Like, you know, if your guy's like a good striker, if you're a good striker and you're losing by submission, you know, you probably don't need to be going as hard in your striking in the fucking gym. You probably need to go a lot harder in your grappling, you know. I feel like the younger fighters are not being as real with themselves as they should be. And realistically, in modern day MMA, I feel like not everybody's doing MMA for the right reason. You know, I would before, when I first started doing it, it was not cool. It was before Conor McGregor. It was not cool and shit. You know, it was just something you did. You know, now people are like, it's awesome because it's that mainstream that, like, you know, you see a guy with cauliflower or somebody random sees with cauliflower ear, and they're just like, oh, do you fight? And you're just like, oh yeah, how'd you know? Your fucked up ears. You know, in the upper level of MMA, you know, I just feel like I don't feel like, as far as fighting, there's too much going wrong. I feel like the way people look at mixed martial arts is what's going wrong sometimes. Like, you know, like guys like me, Khabib, Islam, different guys like that like are more grapple heavy, you know, just really dominant on the ground. You know, sometimes people watch fights like mine or theirs, and they're just like, oh my God, all this grappling. And it's just like, you know, striking can get boring too. Like, everybody's doing these fucking calf kicks, and like, it's just, that's all they're doing. And it's like, you know, that shit can get boring too, but you know, it's an entertainment sport. So, you know, it is what it is on that. I'm just not hot right now. So
Parker doesn't know how to tie his jiu-jitsi belt, so we can help him out. You know, teach him like grappling can be exciting.
Man,
so Brant,
see if I can do this. Let me see if I can do this right quick. Come on, phone. No, my phone's not doing it. Shame on you.
So Brant, right before we let you get out of here, with every guest we have, we do a rapid fire. It's usually not about MMA. Whatever comes to mind, 5 questions, and we always have a theme. I know you're a big anime head. I'm a big anime head myself, so I have an anime-themed 5-question rapid fire. So are you ready to take this on?
Yeah.
Brant, question number 1. What's the best anime you've ever watched?
Best anime I've ever watched, Naruto. Easily Naruto. Love Naruto.
Number 2, which anime do you think is the most overrated?
Most overrated? I think Dragon Ball Z is getting a little bit overrated. I love it, but Dragon Ball Z is getting a little bit overrated. Bleach is a little bit overrated too. But yeah, probably DBZ is probably the most overrated. You know.
I won't tell Orion Kosuke that you said that. Which anime do you think does not get enough respect?
Anime does not get enough respect. I think a lot of man, that's a good question. I think probably Baki the Grappler, the original series, probably doesn't get enough respect. Probably just people just don't know enough about it. Haven't watched it enough. The new Netflix series is out, which I haven't even gotten a chance to watch yet. I need to watch that. Yeah, dang, rapid fire. That one, that's one that needs some time. Dang, I just kind of shot one out there.
If you could be any anime character, who would it be?
If I could be any anime character, who would it be? I would potentially. I'd probably be Saitama off from One Punch Man, just because, even though he's he's like got this boring whatever life, but to me it's absolutely crazy. Dude's ragdolling anything and everything, and he's saving the world one punch at a time.
He's still only a Class B hero though. Which anime character would make the best MMA fighter?
Oh, Killua from Hunter x Hunter. I gotta throw him in there some kind of way. I just needed him to be in here.
I thought that was gonna be your underrated anime. I'm surprised you didn't go with Hunter x Hunter.
Man, afterwards, thinking about it now, I'm like, wow, why didn't I say that? Too late.
That's my go-to for underrated, man. I think that's a really good one.
I'm so confused
Brant,
right
now. Hey, Parker, I'll put Baki in your Netflix queue, and
cool.
You can start there.
Yeah, if anybody's watching this, forget what I said about underrated anime. Put Hunter x Hunter in that slot. Retcon that, bro.
Well, hey, Brant, it was an absolute pleasure for us getting to interview you today. Thank you so much for coming on the show. So excited to see your career. I mean, for our money, you're the best lightweight in Texas, and we can't wait to see where your career goes from here. Before we get out of here, Brant, any shout outs? Anyone you wanna give a shout out to, for the people?
Yeah. So Bowen Chiropractic in Longview. He keeps my back from exploding from all the grappling and all the judo I've been doing lately. So he keeps my spine in line. I want to thank my girlfriend Annette. I want to thank my big bro Daniel Fobbs. Judo teacher Aaron Straggles. My coaches, my team. Isaac. Want to say what's up to Isaac, just in case he does see this. He's Zeke's, the dude I was telling you about earlier. He's Zeke's son. He's like my little dude. I love him. But yeah. Also Ink and Muscle. I want to also give a shout out to Ink and Muscle. I want to give a shout out to Leather and her apparel company, and she's doing great things. And want to give a shout out to her and her husband. So. That's about it.
Well, hey, guys, that was episode 66 of Parker's MMA Show, our interview with Brant Moore Jr. Brant, you got one more?
I got one more shout out. Also, shout out to all the fuckers that were hating on me in my last fight, because I need to watch my fights and watch more of my fights. Y'all hate? It's okay. Just keep watching my shit.
As always, shout out to the haters. Parker's MMA Show, episode 66. He's Brant Moore. I'm Billy Naden. That's Parker Keene. Like, share, subscribe, tell your friends. Hottest lightweight in Texas was on the show this week. Brant, thank you so much. It was a pleasure. Can't wait to see you fight next, and can't wait to see where you go from here.
Nice. Bye.
All right. See you, brother. Later.
Texas Trees is the premier tree care company in the DFW area. Whether you need basic maintenance or specialized services, when it comes to trees, we've got you covered. Pruning, chipping, bracing, and cabling, even root barriers and disease control, we do it all. And if you aren't sure what you need, we have certified arborists on staff to point you in the right direction. Visit us at northtexastrees.net. That's northtexastrees.net. Thanks for listening to Parker's MMA Show. Take a moment to rate and review on Apple Podcasts or wherever you get your podcasts, and visit ParkerKeene'sMMAShow.podbean.com for additional information on Parker and to stay up to date on the latest drama in the fight world. For more information and important links about today's episode, check out the show notes.